Hey, it's Mark and welcome back to Segue to Reason. Now, a popular saying within military circles is that generals are always fighting the last war, meaning that even though warfare and technology are constantly changing, generals always seem to be stuck in the past, fighting current battles as though they were still fighting yesterday's. And dare I say, many church leaders are often just like aging generals. Now, a saying that I sometimes hear in certain church circles is that Christianity isn't about rules, it's about relationship. And this largely stems from the bad experiences of my own generation, where many grew up with a very distorted form of Christianity. That Christianity was all about following a set of rules, of do's and don'ts, of making sure that every theological T was crossed and every doctrinal I was dotted. And this quite naturally led to a very distorted view of who God was also. Many perceive God as this stern bean counter up in the sky who was just waiting to punish anyone who got out of line. The good news, in fact the great news, was that many eventually discovered that there was much more to Christianity than just following a set of rules. That there was also this aspect about having a relationship with your Heavenly Father. The bad news is that just like aging generals trying to fight the last war, many of my generation who are now in church leadership seem to think that the current generation are fighting this same battle. And so there's this great stress upon our church youth about having a personal relationship with God, but very little talk about actually obeying His rules. Now, it's only natural for one generation to not want the next one to go through any bad experiences as they may have. And yet, often that leads to the other extreme. For example, if someone had been raised in a very strict household, the tendency then is for that person to be very lax in disciplining their own children. And I'd argue in a similar way, we're seeing that in our evangelical churches today, where church leaders who have been raised to believe that Christianity was all about the rules and not about the relationship, now preach that Christianity is all about the relationship and not also about the rules. And this, along with our postmodern culture, have created the perfect storm for our church youth today. When at school, they're taught that morality is nothing but personal preference, that it doesn't matter what you believe, just as long as you're sincere. And then on Sunday mornings, they hear their pastor preach that Christianity is all about the experiential, that it doesn't matter what you believe, just as long as you love Jesus, forgetting that Jesus Himself said, "If you love me, you will obey my commands." Or to paraphrase that, if you love me, you will obey my rules. Keep searching.